to present our next speaker for a couple of reasons. One is Shannon is a student here, a junior, actually, undergrad junior at Parsons. I'll let her do her full introduction. But I became aware of Shannon through Parsons newsletter earlier this summer because she was featured for her initiative on dorm donation project. When you got here on Monday, you may have noticed at the bottom of the stairs there was a bunch of bins of blankets and bedding items mostly, and that's because, as I put in the announcements last week, Shannon created, led, drove the dorm donation project, which she's going to go through this morning. That's the first thing that I'm interested in. The second thing is the power of networking. In fact, we now have met each other for 30 seconds because we didn't pre-meet for this. We've only communicated through email. But when it comes to networking, that's the way it is sometimes. And sometimes reaching out and just saying, really impressed with the work that you're doing, like it so much that I would like to offer you something. I'm not asking necessarily Shannon for anything specific, but I'm giving her an opportunity to talk about the work that she's doing. And she's more than happy to do that. And I think that's just a great exemplification of networking and how well it can work out. So without any more delays, here's Shannon Hughes.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me all right? Cool. Oh my God, I'm so excited to be here today. My name is Shannon Hughes. I'm a student here at the New School. I'm a junior. And I mostly do filmmaking, but I also do a lot of environmentalism on the side because it's just something that I grew up with and it's something I feel very passionate about. So we'll talk a lot more about that, like in the presentation and everything. So I began this project called the Dorm Donation Project. And the DDP is like a grassroots initiative that addresses two problems in one: home good waste during move out and the cost of home goods during move in. How many of you guys have experienced that, like, there's a lot of stuff you end up throwing away when you move out? Yeah, that's what I thought. How many of you guys have actually heard about the Dorm Donation Project? Cool. How many of you saw the free sale the other day that was happening in the event cafe, like just outside here? Okay, cool. That's exciting. Do any of you guys live in the residence halls? Okay, slay. I'm an RA at 301, so. Cool. All right, so the main reason why I ask these questions is because of what the DDP aims for as far as promoting a new way of tackling move-in and move-out by preventing waste and promoting a circular economy. So, I also wanted to know how many of you guys were already thinking sustainably. So those of you who came to the free sale, you're thinking sustainably. Those of you who have heard about the dorm donation project are also like considering sustainability things. Okay, cool. So the foundation of the Dorm Donation Project is to extend the usage of existing home goods and household products to reduce reproduction and waste volumes, all while increasing the satisfaction and consumption by providing equal and equitable access to rescued home goods to all students across the university. We do this by providing space in the residence halls for students to donate items at the end of the academic year during move-out, keeping things out of the landfills. This space is cleared and brought to a storage space in the University Center, which is on the 5th floor. At least this year it was. I don't know about next year, probably the same. And then during move-in the next year, we allow students to come to a space that every community member has access to and can take whatever they need for their homes, dorms, or apartments, which was in the event cafe, thus reducing the reproduction of these items. In the event there are any leftover items, they are then given to this company that I hired called Junk Luggers, and they have a cool center where they like sort through everything. And this year we had like a lot of bed sheets and everything left over, so they were able to like recycle some of it or donate some of it. Very, very few items actually get thrown away. And basically the cycle of the system is very simple, and that's on purpose. So I'm gonna let this video play so you guys can watch this. So this is kind of what it looked like the other day. I was really nervous over summer. Like I had planned this earlier this year, that we were going to have this free sale and everything. And I was like, oh my God, nobody's going to show up to this. Nobody's going to like this. People are going to think it's stupid. It's like nobody's going to like this. And then I get there, and I got there like 30 minutes early. And there was already like 20 to 30 people standing there waiting to like take this stuff. And I was like, oh, this is going to go a little bit better than expected. So thank you. So as you can see, this is what it looked like 1 hour in, and then 2 hours in, pretty much everything was gone. And just for context, this is an 18-foot box truck full of items that I brought to the UC. And also for context, this was 1.5 residence halls worth of items. If we had all 4 residence halls participate, it would have been way more items. So I was also going to say that there was moments there where like I was pretty much speechless, like watching all of this stuff go away, because I was like, this happened in 1 hour. I was like, this is insane that people like really, really wanted to take this stuff and like believe in sustainability and want these items and everything. And I just wanted like you guys to know, like if you take anything away from this presentation, it's to advocate for yourself, advocate for your project or your business or whatever you guys are going to be doing, because it's just so crucial. It's so important. And I wouldn't have gotten to be able to do any of this if I didn't advocate for myself and just spread the word and tell everybody I knew about it. Okay. All right. So I read something recently about how our planet's resources are declining drastically. Not only has humanity used up 1/3 of nature's resources, but we keep on consuming them at an increasing rate. Today, we need about 1.75 planets to provide for the resources, our consumption, for our consumption and absorb our waste. By 2030, we will need 2 planets. And as of right now, for the foreseeable future, we only have 1. So I wanted us to have this in the back of our minds as we talk about the Dorm Donation Project and the kind of sustainability we want to empower the members of our community with at the new school, or empower those outside of our community here in this room. So, I want to briefly talk about a circular economy and a linear economy and what that means. I know the word economy is here, but it's not really particularly related to a certain economic status or anything like that. It just simply means that we do purchase these items. So here's a linear economy at the bottom. This is the practice majority of us experience in our daily purchasing. So we extract materials, manufacture them into the product that we then purchase. Then we are finished with this item and we just throw it away. And it lives in a landfill for however long it takes for that item to break down. Sometimes that can be thousands to millions of years. Now in a circular economy, we take that item and make sure that it'll never touch a trash can. This item will be manufactured with reused materials, never raw. And these items will then be purchased, used, and recycled properly to be used once again. Now, the Dorm Donation Project kind of meets these two right in the middle. This cycle is a practice I grew up with. Often I tell people here in the city I'm from Vermont, and they ask me where in Canada that is. But I'm here to inform you that Vermont is a state I grew up in, a mere 3 to 4 hours north of New York City, not in Canada. You may know Vermont for its skiing, farming, and maple syrup. You may also know the brands Ben & Jerry's ice cream, Cabot cheese, and our beloved Bernie Sanders. Okay. Now, what you may not know is that 78% of Vermont is Green Mountain. Oh, wait. I think I skipped a slide. Oops. Anyways. Now, what you may not know is that 78% of Vermont is Green Mountain National Forest. That's 1.5 million acres of land where no one can live, and other than what is naturally occurring. Vermont was the second state to ban billboards in 1968 after Alaska. Maine and Hawaii then followed afterwards. Vermont was one of the first states to enact the plastic bag ban in grocery stores. Now, the reason laws like this exist is that tourism and modern advances don't corrupt the land in a thing we widely known as gentrification. However, in the case of Vermont, this kind of gentrification is affecting our agrarian culture. Here I refer to gentrification as a complex process that involves the economic and demographic transformation of a neighborhood, often from low to high value. gentrification in Vermont is not parallel to race, as we see it being practiced generally here in New York City. A lot of us kind of mush those two together, but in Vermont, it's just a lot of it happens to be economic status and employment types and general incomes, hence agrarian culture. And then we have like companies and stuff like that come in. So a great example of this is this circle house here in the picture. The reason Vermont has laws like this in place is to help protect the land and scenery for which people would want to live here in the first place, thus helping the land to keep the same essence of self-sustaining agrarian economy that it has always been. Nowadays, living in Vermont is economically the same thing as living in the East Village. Small apartments, high rent, and small town families are beginning to be pushed out. When I first started at the new school, I was under the impression everyone had the same sustainable practices in schooling as I did. After all, I went to public school. So I thought that everyone grew up with recycling and composting and integrated into their schooling. I thought everyone had farm-to-table cafeteria foods. I thought all food service businesses had like this pig bucket where they just donate food of their food scraps and they give it to local farmers to feed their pigs. I thought everyone went to farmers markets to get their fruits and vegetables. When I came here, I found out that was not everybody's experience. This life of an independently sustainable community is something that has been passed down for hundreds of years. We experience daily conscious practices that are as old as our instincts. These practices are effective. As humans, we currently find ourselves losing touch with our past as we think about our future that leans towards corporate America. My mom moved to Vermont about 40 years ago in the search of a simpler way of living compared to her childhood in suburban North New Jersey. Back then, she could buy a house in Vermont for how much it was to rent a room in New Jersey. Nowadays, that is not the case. When she moved to my hometown, no house had numbers on it. Everybody knew everybody in the community. That was the 1980s. Nowadays, I often refer to my hometown as Connecticut's vacation home, and my mom calls it a movie set. My small town of Manchester, Vermont now has billboards. Not in the state of Vermont, but 10 minutes across the state border in New York. It's a tourist attraction. The reason I tell you these things is that there are two completely different societies that I've come to know not all that far apart from each other, that function on different opposites of the consumer spectrum. This is the expectation of sustainability that I want to integrate into the Dorm Donation Project. Okay. While I can't stop the changing times and my efforts only go so far, I know that I can encourage the use of values that I grew up with. One of those ways is donations and tag sales. I don't know if any of you guys have watched I Love Lucy, but I love that show. Anyways, I always think of this episode where she like buys this vacuum because I have this vacuum back home that looks like that. So in my home growing up, I was surrounded with antiques passed down through my family or picked up at the end of people's driveways in free piles. Clocks, telephones, lamps, kitchen utensils, vacuums. There are endless opportunities to find items of value that you don't always pick up fresh from a box store. My mom picked up this vacuum cleaner in the 90s at a yard sale in Vermont for $15. This Electrolux vacuum was manufactured in the 1940s. It still works, by the way. A vacuum like this may go out of style, but it's still kicking better than any other vacuum cleaner I've ever used. I mean this in comparison to our $500 Dyson vacuum cleaner that was manufactured last year. According to a few sources, it's one of the best on the market, and it's safe to say that I don't agree with that because this vacuum is so much better. Okay. Along with my endless antiques, most of my wardrobe is thrifted and gifted clothing. Of course, it's trendy right now to be thrifting, but I lived off of hand-me-downs growing up. Sometimes out of necessity, but mostly by choice. The only time I remember getting new clothes was for the first day of school or Christmas. Of course, it made them so much more special, but no piece of clothing I put on had the same feeling as one that had been loved a lot longer. So I wanted to show you guys this jacket that I have. This jacket was purchased by my mom's friend about 40 years ago. It was worn by her friend, and then her, then my mom's ex-husband, and then my father, and now it belongs to me. This jacket had many, many lives before I found it. So by purchasing this jacket, my mom's friend was making an investment in an item. Now, what if we approached every item of clothing and home item the same way Carhartt made this jacket? Everything should last us this long, maybe longer. It's funny to question this now because less than 100 years ago, people treated the act of purchasing items like an investment, a planned purchase, and it was never impulsive. Of course, this jacket is made for a farmer, so it's tough, but it doesn't fail to be the common winter jacket of the average Vermonter or the average New Yorker, as well as a fashion statement to the average celebrity. Clothing and everyday items like this do not stop at Carhartt. Levi's also remains a tried and true brand that hasn't changed their recipe much since day one because it works. Even now, they have a Levi's secondhand brand because they were built to last longer than one lifetime. Believe it or not, everything used to be built this way. Now I want to bring, what did I do? There's like a thing on the screen. I don't know. Anyways, you guys can't see it, so it's fine. I want to bring you back to the first slide again. 1/3 of the Earth's resources are used. I want you to look around at you at the things you own right here in this room. Your phone, your wallet, your tote bag, your pen, your pencil, the nail polish on your fingers, your necklace, your t-shirt, and just pick one. Does everyone have one that they're thinking of right now? We're going to practice something. I want you to meditate on this item for a couple of minutes. Think about where it came from. Think about the person who may have built that object that you hold in your hands right now. Who is that person? Where do they live? What does their family look like? Do they get up early or late? Do they have long hair or short hair? If they have any at all? Who is this person that put this item together for your use? How did it get here in this room? Did it come across seas, maybe by boat or by truck? Maybe you bought it in Union Square. Who is the person who sold you this item? Do they wear a uniform? Did they package it nicely for you? Were they having a good day? What was their name? How often do you use this item? Frequently, infrequently? Can you refill it? Are you just using it this one time? Will you get it fixed if it breaks? Do you exchange it for a newer model sometimes? Why do you have that thing? What are you going to do with it when you're done with it? Throw it away, donate it, recycle it, give it to a friend? Maybe compost it? Maybe it's sitting in a landfill. Maybe it's getting flushed down a pipe. Maybe you don't know where it goes and it kind of just disappears. Is it enjoying the environment around it? Is it breeding bacteria? Maybe it's being loved by somebody else. Maybe it's going to be in a museum. Maybe it will be at the bottom of the ocean. The question is, do you care where it goes? Do you think that it'll affect you wherever it ends up? Do you think that you will ever see it again once you remove it from your ownership? I want you to meditate with these thoughts for a second and just question these items. And then do it for every single item that you own. I'm going to tell you guys a little story. So, I was born between two houses. About 20 years ago, my father, who was a construction worker, put in the foundation for this house at the top of a mountain. My father built a helicopter pad on this property as per the owner's request. He wanted to be able to fly in from New York City whenever he felt like it, to his second or third home up the country. At the bottom of the mountain, there is a man who lives in a farmhouse with his mom. He was born here, as was his mother, and I'm sure his mother's mother. His name was Edgar. Edgar only changes his clothes once a year. He wears coveralls. At the end of the year, he'll buy a new pair of coveralls and just burn his old ones. His mom has since passed, but he remains in this house today. This isn't a made-up story. This is a real man that I know. Okay. A few years ago, I read Angela Davis's Woman, Race, and Class. She quoted from the book Witches, Midwives, and Nurses by Barbara, I'm going to butcher her last name, but Ehrenreich, I think. And she says, meals were simple and repetitive. Clothes were changed infrequently. and household wash was allowed to accumulate. The washing done only once a month, or in some households, once in 3 months. Angela Davis then calls this the agrarian economy of pre-industrialized North America. This refers to the years 1790 through 1860. Everyone lived off the land and what their neighbors could provide them with. Everything is fresh from the source, and what they couldn't have, they didn't need. I constantly think about this pre-industrialized life and how it contrasts to what is to the technology we have today and how it's at our fingertips at every moment of our day. What's so incredible about Vermont is that there are still people who live without the need of modern technology. It makes me want to slow down and let history catch up with us. I also often think about packaging. This could be what your food comes in or your Amazon order comes in, or when you take home an item from any store, whether it comes in saran wrap, a plastic box, a cardboard box, or a little baggie. Together, food, packaging, and containers account for 45% of the materials landfilled in the United States. That's nearly half of the landfills. And as of November 2023, the United States has more than 3,000 active landfills that cover 1,800,000 acres of land. Now I want to bring you back again to some information I gave you at the beginning of the presentation. Remember when I said that 78% of Vermont is Green Mountain National Forest? And then I said that's 1.5 million acres. There's more acreage of landfill than there is national forest in Vermont. I think about these luscious green mountains that I spent my entire childhood admiring. Mountains I hiked to the top of, mountains that fill my camera roll on my phone, mountains people ski down, mountains that bring over 13 million visitors a year to the state. Now think about these mountains, but instead of it being the earth we come from, we replace it with the items that will never be considered again. Never thought about, never used, never touched. Never another opportunity for these items to be loved again, be gifted to someone, to be appreciated. Imagine a world where my mom's friend just threw out this jacket, but it's still quality enough for me to be standing here with it today. So this is where the Dorm Donation Project comes in. While I cannot tackle every item of waste at the new school, I can provide you with some information I discovered while planning for this project. According to a survey in 2019, college students and their families are expected to shell out a record amount of $1,367 per person. Putting this number into the context of the people living in the residence halls at the new school, this means we collectively spend over $3 million every year on new home essentials. Now do that for 2 years or 4 years, 5 or 6 years in a row that you go to school. That's like millions of dollars. It's insane. American universities have a serious waste problem. The average college student produces a whopping 640 pounds of trash annually, the majority of which accumulates at the end of the year during move-out. Again, putting this into the context of the 10,000 students who attend this school, that's 6.5 million pounds of trash. When I began this project, it was a final for one of the classes I was taking called Waste and Justice. My teacher at the time is now our current president, Joel Towers. He had a guest speaker one day, and her name was Allison Mears, the co-founder and director of the Parsons Healthy Material Lab. She shared with us the smell of retail stores is a toxic chemical of flame retardants. This chemical is brominated flame retardants, BFRs. This contains bromine and are used in many electronics, furniture, and building materials. BFRs have been linked to endocrine disruption and thyroid dysfunction. Older compounds have been replaced by new versions that also show toxic endocrine effects. This was reported by the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences in the United States. This means that we are being negatively affected by every item in our household, linking us to cancer. According to the UN Environment Program, there's evidence that there is toxic effects in wildlife, including mammals. Adverse effects are reported in soil organisms, birds, fish, frogs, rats, mice, and humans, where they have been linked to cancer, hormone disruption, and other adverse health effects. This problem is so much bigger than just keeping stuff out of our landfills. It's the manufacturing of these items that is affecting our everyday lives as well. The recreation of a project similar to the DDP is built into its nature. I want you to copy this program. I want you to make something of your own with this roadmap I've laid out. Because it is circular, therefore it completely removes the idea of waste and the idea of production of items already in existence. As long as that item remains functional, it can stay within the system of the DDP, or in a larger spectrum, our recycling system. This is exactly nature's cycle, the way it was intended. This cycle has been ingrained in us since the dawn of time itself. Being sustainable is quite literally being able to sustain time, and that's what the DDP is all about. Thank you.
Just a couple quick points here. Where can people find you if they're interested in the Dorm Donation Project?
Dorm Donation Project on Instagram. That's the handle.
Okay. And just with a minute that we have left, does anybody have any questions or comments? Yes.
Do you have a team behind you, or is it just you?
It's mostly me, and then the volunteers are my friends.
So I think having your participation this year, maybe when you're thinking about it, I assume you're planning on doing it again?
Oh, of course.
Okay. All right. Let's get all 4 dorms in on it this year.
Yeah, that's
Right.
what I'm hoping for.
Yes.
How long does it take you to plan before you launch this?
This took me about 3 months to plan for. I started planning for it around like midterms time for the class. That's when we started working on our finals.
And I want to just say I'm so proud of you.
Oh,
And
thanks.
I think you're such an inspiration to everyone in this room, including myself, that like this is where it happens, you guys. So whatever you're passionate about and your incredible background, you can be doing it now. So just use this as an inspiration of what really excites you and really move your purpose forward.
Also, if you guys have any questions about the resources that I used for funding or anything like that, I can answer that as well. I do a lot of work at the school that includes a lot of different resources, and I'm sure some of you guys maybe haven't been to the new school before or are first years here, so yeah.
I will say these are business students. So if you need business plan help, I'm sure they're going to be rock stars. Just give them like maybe 3 or 4 months to get, up to speed, but then you can tap into that network too.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Shannon.